What's up, guys? Welcome back to Shop Stories. We're down here on the beach, and it looks pretty fun, actually. I'm kind of psyching. But if you guys are loyal subscribers, we love you, and you probably remember we already did a video on leaders, but I want to do another episode, and we'll call it Leaders Part 2. There's some points that I missed, some great comments that I've read, and some things that I kind of want to bring up and mention to you guys about leaders on a surfboard, because they are relevant. I think maybe last time I went a little bit too hard into the fact that they're irrelevant and you should not pay attention to them at all. There is definitely a time and a place where they do matter. So for now, I need to go surfing. It looks really fun, but I'll come chat to you guys in a little bit. And yeah, let's go first route.
Yes.
Well, the spin on that.
Making friends with that guy?
Oh, he's gonna ramp. That was sick. Ooh!
What's up? The Shroud was firing. Super fun. A lot of friends out. It's good to see Sam Orozco. I don't know if Sam watches this stuff, but if you do, It's good to see you. It's fun surfing with you. It's a very good surfer from down here, and always really liked the way he surfed. So it's always good to see him in the water again. Shreddy Teddy was out. Josh Norcross, Remy, Linus. There's a bunch of people, but I guess let's dive right into it. Let's talk about volume. So last time we talked about volume, I kind of brought up the fact that I think volume is irrelevant, and I think that might have been a little bit of a stretch. I do think there's a lot more that goes into a surfboard that makes a surfboard really good aside from volume. You can have two 28-liter boards, and in theory they should be the same float and the same paddle, but they feel completely different, and that's because it's differences of placement of foam. So sometimes people put more foam in the chest area of the board or the tail area of the board. They'll have more foam in this area of the rail. There's a lot of different things that could go on. Lately I've been riding 26 point, I don't know if that's 8 or 3 or 2, I can't tell, but it's 26 point something. And it kind of feels like it sinks a lot when I'm like surfing, when I'm going into bottom turns and like going down the line. I have to be really like careful and methodical at where I put the board. And then I tried a friend of mine, he is riding a 28-liter 5.9 synthetic 84 model from Timmy Patterson. And I was like, wow, I don't have to think about this at all. Like I can just surf. And I caught like 2 or 3 waves on it, felt great. Talked to Timmy Patterson later that day, and he said that I should probably be riding a 28.5-liter board, but keep the same length. So I just ordered boards yesterday, actually. Fun fact. But I got this exact same model, the exact same length, 5'11.5", same width, 18.88, but then I went from 2.32 to 2.5. So I went a little thicker, but what Timmy's going to do is he's going to keep the thickness in the belly of the board, mostly in the chest, and then thin the rails out so that they feel similar to these rails. So I can still sink the board in the bottom turn and the turns and all that. So that being said, I do think volume is relevant. I just don't think that you need to overanalyze volume and only buy a board if it's a certain volume. There's a lot more that goes into it, like rocker, rails, tail shape, tail thickness, nose thickness, blah, 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 where the foam's displaced. And that's why I say, under the arm test, look down at it. If you've held a lot of surfboards, typically you'll be able to look down and be familiar with like, oh wow, that nose looks a little more turned up or flatter than my other boards that I had. So you'll be able to like look at it in, how do I say it, like in a normal setting, and you'll be able to realize what's different about the board. So I know in the Forefin episode, if you guys are subscribers, the people have spoken. They want more Tanner Sack in the videos. So we have our friend Tanner Sack here. He's going to talk to you guys about what he feels about volume, what he thinks about it, and why volume is relevant to him. So I'm going to pass it over.
Should I grab boards? Show them?
Grab whatever you want.
Well, I have 2 different ones.
You could not grab boards, you could grab boards. You could not talk, you could talk.
I'll talk.
This is the Alley Rat 2, right?
Yep.
But it's a swallowtail.
Same length.
It's kind of fun. Look
Wider
at this.
and
Hunter.
thicker.
Look at how like there's like the same rail like here, but then it goes like straighter back behind the fin versus this almost. Mine's straighter maybe than this.
Yeah, yours is definitely straighter.
It's kind of odd. It's kind
Whoa.
of fun to look at that.
Trippy.
And it had like to get the tail to like round out at 5'11.5. They have to like bring it in to make that curve. But
Volume.
the volume. This board
These are all
is
poly. Fun fact: these are poly, not epoxy.
well. This one's epoxy. I have a new fin setup for you guys. The twin fin. It worked great this morning. Fuck. This board is kind of my everyday small wave shortboard. It's the X-File 2 from Timmy Patterson. It's 5'10 and a half, 19 and a quarter, 2.52 thick, and it's 31.7 liters. So it's actually, yeah, I'm 6 foot and 190, 195.
And I'm like 5'10", 180. So I should be riding that.
Yeah, and so this one's 31.7 liters. And then as the waves get better, I actually go up to a 5'11 and a half, 19 and a quarter, 2.52. This one's only 30.2 liters. And it's funny because this one is an inch and a half longer, the same width, same thickness, and it's a liter and a half less. And all of that is just because this board has less foam throughout. The deck of it's more domed.
So he took the leader out of the rail and probably the nose thickness as well.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it, like the rail of this board and like the deck of it is so much flatter.
Yeah, and when you say rail, you're talking about like this top bit of the rail, right? Or are you talking about just in general?
I'm talking about like the actual like doming of the deck and then into the rail, like the actual rail bands.
Yeah.
Like this one isn't quite as flat as that one. And so it just carries, and it seems like that one has a lot more foam here.
In the chest.
Yeah. But they both paddle about the same. And I think that that's because with the extra inch and a half of length, it still is able to plane on top of the water well.
Yeah.
So like
Surface tension.
Yeah, and like volume just isn't quite everything.
Yeah.
It's
I think
important to
so.
know your range.
Basically, volume is length times width. Wait, what is it? It's length.
Well, volume itself is
Like,
just...
what is the mathematical equation for volume?
Well, volume really what it is it's just how much displacement it's going to put in the water. Like, so how much, if you put it in a tank, the only actual way to really find out how much volume your surfboard is to put it in a dunk tank and see how high the water rises as you push it in.
Okay.
And that's like where you get liters from. And with that, like, you could have something that, like this.
You got a lot of surfboards.
Yeah. This thing's 5'4", 19.3, 2.5, and it's 30 liters. And it's the same as both of these. This one paddles by far the worst.
By far the worst?
Yeah, even though
Really?
it's the smallest board that I have and it's the widest one, it just doesn't have like, it has a lot of foam under the chest, it still paddles well, but it just isn't as long, so it doesn't get onto a plane as well. It's very fast and fun in small surf, but it just doesn't quite plane on top of the water because there's not as much length.
Yeah, I like longer surfboards. Like, I mean, shorter boards are fun for sure, but longer surfboards, I typically have a better time trying to draw a long rail turn, like a long line, whereas shorter boards typically are going to be more wiggly. So that's kind of why in the previous video I was saying that volume isn't really that relevant. I think it's something that can help you find a board. And if you find like a volume that you really like, trying it in different outlines could help you decipher what you like in a surfboard, whether it's like tail shapes or nose widths or things like that. And moving volume around, if you're like working tightly with the shaper, like telling him to put more volume in the chest, like putting a little more foam up front, could help you paddle a little better while keeping a thin tail so you can still like land to turns and stuff. Or switching it up and going more tail volume, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You'll get more float while you're surfing. So it's all kind of just like, it's a guide, a generalized guide, I think, is the best way I could put it to figuring out what board works well for you and why. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I would just try to find a range, you know? So many people shop for their surfboards just based off the volume, and I think that's mostly what you were trying to get at in the last video. Is that just because something says 30 liters does not mean that it's going to be the perfect size for you. You could get something that is 5'11", 21, and 2 1/8 thick, and the rail's going to be super sensitive. It's going to be unforgiving because it's so thin, and it still probably won't paddle that great because you don't have any volume in it. So like it's all just based off of where you put that foam. Uh, I used to work at a surf shop. I sold a lot of boards to a lot of people, and the boards that don't have volume listed on them are definitely more difficult to sell. Um, and I feel like a lot of people don't quite know the dimensions that they're looking for. They're just looking for a volume. Um, so find the dimensions, kind of the volume's kind of the equal sign after the dimensions. And then that gives you your range. So usually it's plus or minus a liter of something you like. Try something different and figure it out.
And get off YouTube and go surfing because it's firing. So thanks for tuning back into another episode of Shroud Stories. If you guys got suggestions, comments, concerns, drop it down below. I like reading them. That's why we made a part 2 to the volume series, because there are some points that people wanted to bring up. So hopefully this was a little bit more detailed. Watch both, get a little bit tuned in to each side of the things. And if you love it, tell me about it. If you hate it, tell me about it. I want to hear it. So thanks for tuning back in. I'll see you guys next week. All right.